Iya, di tengah peran penting media dalam menginformasikan fakta dan data seputar pandemi COVID-19, fungsi kebebasan pers kembali terusik. Vonis bersalah terhadap Maria Ressa, pemimpin redaksi dan CEO media online Rappler.com telah memantik perhatian dunia. Putusan pengadilan Filipina terhadap wartawan senior ini juga mencuatkan keprihatinan atas kebebasan pers dan hak asasi manusia di negara tersebut. Nah, bagaimana seharusnya pemerintah melindungi kebebasan pers sebagai pilar demokrasi dan juga bagaimana upaya media bertahan di tengah gempuran para buzzer hingga berita bohong ataupun hoax yang begitu masif. Insight akan membahasnya kali ini bersama saya Desi Anwar.
Maria Ressa dinyatakan bersalah atas tudingan pencemaran nama baik lewat dunia maya. Artikel Rappler tahun 2012 silam menyeret Maria Ressa dan rekannya, Reynaldo Santos, pada tuntutan penjara hingga 6 tahun. Artikel yang berisi investigasi jurnalistik itu menyoroti sepak terjang seorang pengusaha yang diduga terlibat kasus pembunuhan, perdagangan orang, dan narkotika. Maria Ressa tidak tinggal diam. Bersama kuasa hukumnya, mantan jurnalis CNN ini akan mengajukan banding atas vonis hakim.
I think we're redefining what the new world is going to look like, what journalism is going to become. Are we going to lose freedom of the press? Will it be death by 1,000 cuts? Or are we going to hold the line so that we protect the rights that are enshrined in our Constitution?
Kasus hukum terhadap Maria Ressa dan Rappler bukan kali ini saja terjadi. Sejak 2015, ada belasan kasus yang ditimpakan kepada mereka. Mulai dari dugaan penggelapan pajak, pelanggaran undang-undang anti-dummy atau anti campur tangan asing, hingga pencemaran nama baik. Tak hanya itu, Maria Ressa ditangkap 2 kali dan ditahan 1 kali. Ressa juga harus membayar jaminan hingga 8 kali untuk bisa bebas. Namun, Presiden Filipina menyatakan pidana terhadap Ressa dan Rappler tidak terkait dengan kebebasan pers, tetapi merupakan prosedur normal peradilan dari dugaan pelanggaran hukum.
Ya, Maria Ressa, CEO dari Rappler.com dan seorang jurnalis senior divonis bersalah oleh pengadilan Manila, Filipina pada tanggal 15 Juni lalu. Akibatnya Maria Ressa terancam hukuman 6 tahun penjara dengan tuduhan pencemaran nama baik di dunia maya. Maria Ressa bersama mantan penulis Rappler Reynaldo Santos dituntut atas artikel yang terbit 8 tahun lalu. Nah, apa saja bentuk perlawanan Maria Ressa dan bagaimana potret kebebasan pers di era media online saat ini? Saya akan membahasnya langsung bersama Maria Ressa dari Manila dan juga Endy Bayuni, redaktur senior di Jakarta Post, sekaligus juga Dewan Pengawas Independen Facebook. Halo Endy.
Hai Desi.
Apa kabar?
Baik, terima kasih.
Ini rekan kita yang di Manila ya, mendapat vonis yang bagi kita di kalangan pers itu sangat memprihatinkan. Coba kita langsung dengan Maria dari Manila. Hi Maria.
Hi, Desi.
Hi
Hello,
Maria.
Endy.
My condolences and deep concern. It's a sad day for us here in the press when we have the media journalists are being criminalized for doing their job. Now, on the 15th of June, the Manila court has convicted you and a colleague from Rappler.com with a cyber libel, and that could mean up to 6 years in jail. Now, could you, for us in Indonesia, who's not too clear on what these charges are that you're facing at the moment, and about the cyber law itself, could you just go back and tell us exactly what is going on?
Well, I think you have to look at everything in context. The attacks against Rappler, the news group I lead, began 4 years ago in 2016, and it started first with online social media attacks that targeted me, targeted the company, targeted our reporters, to the tune of like 90 hate messages per hour. And then a year later, those same attacks, it's very simple. Journalist equals criminal. A year later, This came out of President Duterte's mouth in his State of the Nation address in 2017. A week later, we got the first subpoenas to appear. And in 2018, the Philippine government filed 11 cases and investigations against me and Rappler. 2019, I had the arrest warrants come. I was arrested twice, detained once. We've had to post bail 8 times in order to be free. I have to ask permission from court to travel. And there are 3 broad buckets. The first is this case, cyber libel, which is basically libel. The second is tax evasion. And the third is a group on securities fraud. In this particular case, we were pretty certain had hoped it would get thrown out. But precisely because there were legal acrobatics that had to happen. The allegation is that we defamed this businessman who had political and business ties to people who are influential in government. We thought we were clear of the charge because the government's own lawyers actually threw it out, because rightfully so, they said that the statute of limitations, the period of time when you can file the case, has elapsed. This story was published in 2012, months before the law we allegedly violated was even enacted, right? So this is a retroactive application of the law. And lo and behold, I and my former colleague, Ray Santos, have been convicted. And again, while it's appalling, it's not completely unexpected, considering that the cyber libel charge was filed about a month after the government tried to shut our office down, tried to shut Rappler down. So in that context, I'd just say 2 points that are hugely problematic and show a breakdown in rule of law. The first is the period of prescription, statute of limitations. For libel, it's 1 year. Just to be able to file the case against us, this court said that prescription is now from 1 year to 12 years. And then the second one is, it's very new, this idea of republication, that because we changed one letter of one word 2 years after in 2014, that then meant that we republished the story. And because of that, we should be charged with cyber libel.
So 11 charges against you. Now, I mean, tell us a little bit. I mean, is there any of these charges that can stand on its leg? Are there any sort of basis to these charges that you've been sort of directed against you? But then why? I mean, why Rappler.com? Is it because of perhaps, Rappler.com have been particularly critical against President Duterte? Or what's the real motive behind this, do you think?
I can say the why easier, and then I can say absolutely with certainty, these are politically motivated charges that are meant to harass and to intimidate us. The why is because starting in 2016, we began to demand an end to impunity on 2 fronts. The first is this brutal drug war. Our own Commission on Human Rights has said that at least 27,000 people have been killed in this. That's unheard of. And then the second level of impunity is against the government's propaganda war using Facebook. So it wasn't just the Philippine government, it was actually Facebook. And we pulled down data, we showed you exactly how the government was using it. I think it didn't help that while we're a small news group, this is the only news group in the Philippines that isn't backed by a big businessman. The founders and the people running this, the journalists running this, have no other business interests. So it doesn't really help to try to pressure us on we're not rich. We do this because we're journalists. Doesn't he know my work? Yes. Indonesia knows my work.
But is there anything sort of personal? Can we see this as also a personal intimidation against you? I mean, what's your relations to? I mean, how presumably, you know the president. I mean,
Well, I do. I interviewed him in the late 80s for the first time as part of CNN. And then I interviewed him again in 2015 when he hadn't yet decided to run for office. And, one of the good things about interviewing Duterte is at that point, He was so refreshing because he admitted that he killed 3 people in that interview. You know, he says things. It's not personal. I have nothing personal against Mr. Duterte. He's the president of this nation. All I keep saying is, let us do our jobs. The fact that we keep getting targeted makes me think that maybe we should be doing more investigative journalism. There must be something we haven't found that they're afraid of. And, you know, frankly, the only thing I can do is laugh about it because it is laughable. We're not going to stop our investigative journalism because they're trying to bully us into silence.
No, it's not laughable. I think it's concerning. It's certainly very tragic, and it doesn't bode well for the future or the freedom or the independence of the press. Maria, let's take a quick break, and we have Endy Bayuni here as well, whom you know quite well, and I'd like to bring him into the conversation. But Endy, kita istirahat sebentar ya. Let's take a little break. Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali sesaat lagi. Ya, kembali bersama Insight with Desi Anwar. Saya masih ditemani oleh CEO Rappler Maria Ressa yang berada di Manila lewat Zoom, dan juga redaktur senior di Jakarta Post. Bersama saya di studio Endy Bayuni. Maria, let's go back to you. And you know, a laundry list of charges against journalists, against one social news network. Are there any other journalists having the similar sort of intimidation since the President Duterte became a president of the Philippines? Are there sort of indications that the press is the enemy of the state?
Yes, absolutely. We weren't the first news group to be targeted by the Duterte administration. The first was the largest newspaper, the Philippine Daily Inquirer. After cases were filed against the owners, they were pushed to try to sell the newspaper to a businessman friend of President Duterte. The second is the top television network, ABS-CBN. And in 2016, President Duterte said that he would not renew the franchise to operate of ABS-CBN. On May 5th, 2020, just a little over a month ago, the franchise of ABS-CBN elapsed and they were shut down by the government. This is unheard of. The last time ABS-CBN was shut down was in 1972 when Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law, and they were shut down for 14 years, right? So I would say we're very small in the big scheme of that, right? We're only 100 people compared to the number of people who are employed by ABS-CBN is 11,000 people. They have a news group of 1,000 people, right? Compared to our 100 total Rappler. So we're not alone. I think Filipino journalists are aware of the conditions we operate in. I think the difference with Rappler, again, without any other business interest to protect. And we know, with the knowledge that not only is press freedom under attack, but our democracy is under attack, that our rights are being violated. So you and Endy know me. I am not an activist. I am a very traditional journalist in many ways. But when my own rights are violated, I have firsthand experience and I can speak.
Yeah, and Maria, this cyber law thing, are you the first one to be convicted under this cyber law? Or?
Yes, the first one convicted to a jail sentence. The first one convicted. This is a new law that was passed in 2012. There was actually a temporary restraining order. It was very controversial. And it was held during that time period. We supposedly republished the article. The law wasn't even in effect yet. There was no mention of this in the verdict. It was still under a TRO by the Supreme Court. So there are so many legal acrobatics to be able to call Rappler, to be able to call me a criminal. And I will fight all of this.
So there is a clear indication of harassment and intimidation, and you have been getting support from journalists all over the world. Now, Maria, you're a Time Person of the Year, and so what's happening now? What is protection for journalists in the Philippines at the moment? Are you getting good help? Are you getting good support? I mean, what's the mood like amongst the media in the Philippines?
It's really hard to say, Desi, because I think fear definitely is a factor in it, because we're surrounded by violence, not only of the drug war, but even our COVID-19 lockdown is among the most militaristic in the world. We're entering our 13th week this week. We're in our 13th week. Tens of thousands have been arrested. People have been killed for violating quarantine regulations. But I think the big changes here are not only the lockdown, the shutdown of ABS-CBN, that has sent a ripple. And that's a lot of journalists who will be losing their jobs if it doesn't open soon. And that doesn't look like it's going to happen. But the third one is the passage 2 weeks ago of an anti-terror bill that essentially will strip away rights that anyone charged with being a terrorist, and any critic can now be charged with being a terrorist. They can be arrested without a warrant, and they can be held in jail, held in detention for up to 24 days. You know, that bill has already passed through Congress. It was hastily passed by our House of Representatives. It is waiting for President Duterte's signature. So I think we feel, and this is what I get from other journalists, that we're at the precipice of transforming, losing our democracy.
And Endy, I mean, your thoughts? I mean, we see this is not just in the Philippines. We've seen how almost everywhere around the world, particularly say the United States or Russia and particularly countries with authoritarian style leadership. There's a continuous sort of erosion of press freedom and the ability to criticize leaders. I mean, is this a world that we are now really entering? Do you see like Maria's case as an example of the slow erosion of freedom of the press?
I would say this is a global trend. People are talking about democracy in retreat everywhere. In countries that have been democratic for centuries, for decades. Now we are now seeing that they are regressing. Indonesia, we have a little bit, but I think we're still fortunate, not as bad as in the Philippines, as in many other countries. But I think the trend is, it's populism, but also populism with authoritarian traits. And in some countries, they become full authoritarian. And I still believe in democracy, and the way to fight back against the rise of authoritarianism is actually through democracy. As Maria Ressa described, I think very well, this is a legal acrobatic law, legal acrobatic. But at the end of the day, I think democracy also means belief in the legal system, belief in justice. In a seminar yesterday, Maria Ressa described that it's not a trial against Maria Ressa or Rappler, but this is a trial for the Philippine justice. I think this will be, she has still recourse to appeal against that decision. Hopefully that there will be a good decision in favor of dismissing the conviction and then acquit her. And I think that's when we believe that justice is served and democracy is actually restored.
Maria, what's next for you? Are you going to go appeal all the way to the Supreme Court? And what are the chances? Are you optimistic that justice will prevail, democracy will prevail in this instance?
It's hard to say that right now. The court gave us 15 days to file whatever we will file. Of course, we will challenge this. It's a travesty to be, I'm shocked at this because I feel like the last few years, the weaponization of the law and this verdict shows that rule of law is broken. And I want the Philippine judiciary to prove me wrong. We're going to be meeting with our lawyers in a short while, and we'll get a better idea of how to do it. But frankly, this isn't an issue of law. It's politics.
Yes.
You know, it is. I don't know what the Philippine government wants. It's very clear that we aren't going to stop being journalists. And what I learned when I was still in kindergarten, when I went to the United States, when someone bullies you, you stand up to a bully, and other people will come to your help.
Okay, we'll take a little break, but Maria, don't go anywhere. And Endy, stay with us because we will come back after this. Jangan kemana-mana dulu, Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali.
Kasus kriminalisasi terhadap insan pers tak hanya dirasakan oleh Maria Ressa. Pada 2 Oktober 2018, seorang jurnalis Washington Post asal Arab Saudi Jamal Khashoggi dibunuh di Konsulat Jenderal Saudi di Istanbul, Turki. Pembunuhan ini memancing perhatian dunia karena diduga kerajaan Arab Saudi ambil bagian dalam operasi pembunuhan. Setahun pasca pembunuhan, pengadilan Arab Saudi memvonis mati 5 terdakwa pembunuhan. Sementara 3 pelaku lainnya dijatuhi hukuman penjara selama 24 tahun. Namun, pada 22 Mei 2020, putra Jamal Khashoggi, Salah Khashoggi, menuliskan pemberian maaf kepada pelaku pembunuhan melalui Twitter. Dengan pemberian maaf dari keluarga Khashoggi, maka sesuai hukum Arab Saudi, para pelaku yang terancam dihukum mati akan terbebas dari hukuman itu.
We've got one person being arrested here.
29 Mei 2020, kasus intimidasi terhadap jurnalis juga terjadi di Amerika Serikat. Seorang koresponden CNN, Omar Jimenez, ditangkap ketika sedang melakukan siaran langsung aksi protes di Minneapolis, di mana aksi protes terjadi akibat kematian George Floyd, seorang pria kulit hitam yang diduga meninggal akibat tindakan kekerasan polisi. Omar Jimenez bersama krunya dibawa polisi dengan tangan terborgol saat ia melakukan siaran langsung, namun kemudian mereka dibebaskan tanpa tuntutan. Tak hanya di mancanegara, kasus intimidasi dan kekerasan terhadap jurnalis juga terjadi di Indonesia. Pada 21 Februari 2019, sejumlah jurnalis menjadi korban kekerasan dan persekusi oleh massa dari Laskar Front Pembela Islam. Peristiwa itu terjadi di kawasan Monas, Jakarta saat kegiatan Munajat 212 digelar. Para jurnalis dipaksa menghapus rekaman video hasil liputannya oleh sejumlah oknum peserta Munajat. 6 bulan berselang, pada 16 Agustus 2019, 4 jurnalis menjadi korban intimidasi polisi ketika meliput demo buruh tolak revisi Undang-Undang Ketenagakerjaan yang digelar di depan gedung DPR MPR. Mereka diancam akan diringkus aparat jika tak menurut perintah mereka untuk menghapus foto hasil liputannya. Berdasarkan data Aliansi Jurnalis Independen, jumlah kasus kekerasan terhadap jurnalis di Indonesia pada tahun 2019 ada 57 kasus. Sedangkan jumlah kasus kekerasan tertinggi di tahun 2016 sebanyak 81 kasus. Sementara itu di dunia, The Committee to Protect Journalists mencatat 338 kasus kekerasan terhadap jurnalis tahun 2019. Lebih rendah dibanding tahun 2018 yaitu 375 kasus. Secara total, The Committee to Protect Journalists mencatat 1.815 kasus kekerasan terhadap jurnalis di dunia dalam rentan waktu 2015 hingga 2019.
Ya, kita lanjutkan Insight with Desi Anwar. Saya ditemani oleh CEO Rappler Maria Ressa dari Manila lewat Zoom dan redaktur senior di Jakarta Post Endy Bayuni dan juga sebagai anggota dari Dewan Oversight ya, pengawasan dari Facebook. Nah, ini menurut saya penting karena salah satu yang dilema ya, apalagi Maria Ressa dituduh setelah dia convicted ya, divonis telah dalam rangka cyber law atau kriminalitas di dunia maya. Nah, Endy sekarang adalah seorang pengawas dari Facebook itu sendiri. And Maria, Endy is a member of the oversight.
Facebook oversight.
Yes, Facebook oversight, which is very important. I remember Maria was here when she was with CNN International. You were based in Jakarta. That was during the time of the Suharto era. It was time under censorship. It was a time of there's no press freedom. And I think you also witnessed how Indonesia managed to, fight for its freedom of the press. I mean, just very quickly, do you think that freedom of the press all over the world, especially what we're seeing all over the world now, is under threat? And how optimistic are you that we will ever gain that genuine freedom that we fought for back in 1998 and that we, until now try to hold on to?
Press freedom is under attack. In fact, I would say democracies are being forced to retreat, and a lot that is because of these cheap armies on social media, information operations that are being used by authoritarian style populist leaders against journalists, against human rights activists, and opposition politicians. The world is tilting again towards fascism, and that has been enabled by technology. So, Endy, our hopes are with you that for you to do something. Can you please? Journalists have lost our gatekeeping powers. The world's largest distributor of news today is Facebook.
Absolutely.
And since you are on their oversight board, please, they cannot abdicate responsibility to be the gatekeepers of facts, because without facts, nothing will function. We can't have markets, we can't have elections, and we can't have democracy.
Absolutely, and I think we raise a very important point here. It's not just the government attacking the media, but it's everybody is attacking the mainstream media, and the social network, social media is making it easier for hoax, fake news, and now what we have, like armies of buzzers and trolls that continuously trying to undermine the credibility of the mainstream media. Endy, this is a conversation that we should be having. What is to be done, especially since you're doing the oversight now to one of the largest social media platforms?
I think that all the social media companies are struggling. On the one hand, they are providing good services because they give voice to everybody. And that's good. And that's good for democracy, that's good for freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But on the other, there are people out there misusing or abusing the facility. And not just ordinary people or groups, but also sometimes the government are using the social media platforms to further their interests. And all the social media companies, Facebook, Google, Twitter, have been criticized because they are providing the platforms for people to use, to attack, to persecute, to bully.
And they also influence really important things like the election. We've seen how, for example, the social media influenced the US elections and also elections in Indonesia.
They are struggling for sure, and I think they are trying to find ways of addressing these problems, all of them. I think they are experimenting with all kinds of things. They put facilities where you can actually censor yourself in your Facebook account, what can go into your account. But on top of that, there are mechanisms for people to appeal against, to demand that some postings be removed, or if they were removed, to demand that they should be restored. I think all social media companies are trying to do that.
But they're trying, but I don't see that they're really doing anything, because this is all, for a lot of them, it's all about, a profit. The motivation for these companies is not democracy, freedom of speech. But let's go back to we in the media, because also this is a time for us to self-reflect. Do you think that we in the media, particularly mainstream media, are now, as an institution, as one of the pillars of democracies, is our existence here at stake in terms of the credibility, not just by populist governments, but by the users, the people themselves?
Well, as a journalist, I still believe that people need the services that we provide, which is information, verified, accurate, and balanced, and all the things that we go through as a journalist. I cannot see how democracy can function without an independent press.
So you can't. I mean,
you cannot,
we are
exactly.
one of the pillars.
Yeah.
Without one of the pillars, the whole
But
thing would fall.
the media, the mainstream media companies, we are all struggling financially because we have difficulties in the business model in this digital era, and of course, and then we are also losing influence. At one time, we were controlling to some extent the flow of information. Now we don't.
We don't control the narrative anymore.
Exactly.
We're always now in a defensive.
Well, because everybody with a mobile phone and internet access, they can be a journalist. They can disseminate information, whether it's accurate or not, the secondary, but they're disseminating information, and many times their stories are the ones who go viral, not ours, because we take our time, we go through the procedures, and we lost out. That's the reality of the social media, and most people get their news information mostly through social media. They don't go to click my...
Yes, they get it from their WhatsApp group.
That's
they get
right.
it forwarded
Yeah.
from, YouTube, and it becomes what's called viral at the moment. Maria, let's, how about in the Philippines? I mean, what's, mainstream medias, us who work according to clear journalistic, code of conduct and ethics, I mean, as an institution, are we still credible?
Well, this is exactly what's wrong with the social media platforms. With a company like Facebook, for example, in 2016, the narrative of journalists was replaced with criminal. On social media, that was the narrative that the government was pushing forward. And then fast forward to 2020, and you have a court now saying that I'm a criminal, and that is being seeded all over social media. Facebook is our internet in the Philippines. 100% of Filipinos on the internet are on Facebook. And the biggest problem right now is that Facebook is the source, not only, look, Rappler couldn't have grown without Facebook, right? So I understand what is good about it. We're one of its fact-checking partners here. But the reality is that it is also the platform where the worst attacks are done against traditional journalists, against media, against people who have standards and ethics, the news organizations. It is also the same platform that is taking away the advertising revenue. So, one of the things I had hoped before COVID-19 came along, I thought that 2020 was going to be the year that big tech will learn, enlighten self-interest, and really protect the public sphere. That hasn't happened yet. But the upside is that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, that they're doing things to deal with the misinformation and disinformation of COVID-19. They're taking down tweets and posts of leaders. Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, Rudy Giuliani, right? They're taking these down. They labeled Twitter, labeled Trump, President Trump in the United States. Well, here's the problem. Will they do the same thing for political disinformation when journalists are under attack? Because when journalists are under attack, democracy is under attack. It erodes the trust of and the credibility of facts.
Okay, and on that note, we take a little break. I think, Maria, you've raised a very important point, and we certainly will continue on along this topic after the break. Tetaplah bersama kami, Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali. Masih bersama Desi Anwar, kita ada CEO dari Rappler.com, Maria Ressa di Manila lewat Zoom, dan juga Endy Bayuni, redaktur senior dari The Jakarta Post dan juga sebagai anggota Dewan Pengawas dari Facebook. Nah, very, very important point that Maria raised. Now, I mean, Facebook being one of the largest, but I think it's the social media as a whole has really impacted, and quite a lot of it is negatively, on our existence as the sort of formal, professional, mainstream media, those of us that worked with very clear, not just the legal aspects, but with code of conduct and ethics, and we are accountable. But this is a post-truth world, and it has been for some times, and I see that it's getting worse as the years go by, and the COVID is not making things better, because COVID means a much bigger government and an easier way for government to intervene. What should we do in the future, Endy, to make sure that we remain a strong pillar of democracy, that our credibility is not constantly being eroded, both by those in power and those who actually use the social media, which is now everybody?
I think for those in the journalism profession, the answer is go back to the basics of journalism. The platform has changed, the delivery has changed, the packaging may have changed because we're now in the digital era. But I think the principles of journalism are still good. I mean, they have, for all time, even now in this era, the principle of verification, fairness in journalism, covering both sides, the sense of serving the public, that remains. And I think we have to hold on to that and then build our credibility, because even though we don't have that monopoly or quasi-monopoly in the flow of information, we are still the one that people turn to. I think even the COVID-19 proved that people are looking for credible information. They will go back to the established media that have built the trust and credibility. And I think this is going to be, as we move forward post-COVID-19, I think people will realize that, okay, these all fake news or news that are not verified, they may be fun to read, but at the end of the day, they are looking for credible information. They will come back to us.
But especially we've seen in the United States, where the president keeps talking about, against the mainstream media, calling it fake news and, liars and so on and so forth. But do people... My sense is that people seem to trust, at least instinctively, the social media more than they trust the mainstream media. If they see it on the social media, they immediately think it's true. But then if they watch it on the official, on the mainstream media, then there's always this kind of, that's because we don't really trust the institution. I mean, are you getting that same sense, and also that people don't really care about facts?
Well, I think they do, especially with COVID-19, because there's so many information out there, and most of them are hoax, are not accurate. They look for news stories that they can depend on, that they can rely on. And I think in the case of Indonesia, they still have that trust on the media. I think in the United States, it's like in the Philippines, there's a battle between the president and the mainstream media. That is not happening in Indonesia, for example.
We still have a little bit more trust towards the mainstream media. Not much more, not 100%.
Well, at the end of the day, I think people in social media or in the internet, they are learning. Like if you go back to 2014, there was the election. We have so many hoaxes going on. And after that, people are beginning to realize, there are hoaxes, and they are becoming more discerning about the news. They start to unfriend their friends who are spreading the news. Even in WhatsApp, they call out, hey, watch out, this story is actually not verified, maybe it's fake. People are learning, maybe the learning process is probably a little too slow for us, but it's actually happening. People are becoming more careful in what they use and what they read and what they share through the social media.
Now, recently, Twitter has been doing sort of some fact-checking, particularly against Trump's tweet, and I think this is what differentiates the mainstream media and the social media, this accountability. You don't know whether it's true or not. But should the social media platforms be subjected to as rigorous if they want to purvey news, if they want to carry news, to like fact-checkings, and this is something that should be demanded of them in the future?
Yes, but not all of them, because if you're talking about all of them, you can have fact-check everything.
Well, for example, like Facebook, because we know that they can get very, very influential, particularly when it comes to election times, and surely people need to have accurate information coming out of them.
Yes, definitely. But like I said, some some of the information out there should be fact-checked if there's certain criteria, if the content are harmful or could lead to persecution against a certain group of people. On the election, I think they're still undecided whether to what extent should social media actually censure the postings because they could be, especially in the run to the election, it's political speech, political propaganda. Should you fact-check political propaganda? I don't think so. So it's a gray area, and this is something I think Twitter and Facebook have differences. With the oversight board, we have not started working it, so we have not discussed this problem within the oversight board.
I think you've got your work cut out for you. I mean, this is an important job that you're doing. Now, Maria, so what do you think should be done? I mean, with the social, your social media-based news platform. Yes. Do you think that there should be a much more rigorous oversight? Well, like fact-checkings on platforms such as Facebook, and greater accountability, at least, in order to make sure that it's not all full of hate and what have you.
So I think fact-checking is human, and it will not be able to stem the tide of lies. Let me just define what social media platforms are today. They're behavioral modification systems, right? We put in our own data, and then machine learning compiles it all to artificial intelligence, and it knows us better than we know ourselves, better than our most intimate relationship, and it sells our most vulnerable moment to a message to anyone, a company or a government. That's the reality of this, right? There's a great book by Shoshana Zuboff. It's called Surveillance Capitalism. It's when that kind of click, when the advertising model of these social media platforms, Facebook in particular, meets exponential hate that is targeted by governments against someone like me, a journalist trying to work. You have no defense against this. And people their minds are changed.
Yeah. But let's take a little break. And I know, Maria, you have to go soon, but let me give you, we only have one more segment, so stay with us. Don't go anywhere, kita istirahat sebentar. Insight with Desi Anwar akan segera kembali. Insight with Desi Anwar, dan lewat Zoom ada Maria Ressa, CEO dan jurnalis senior dari Rappler.com, dan di studio bersama saya redaktur senior dari the Jakarta Post. Maria, you say good. I know you have to go soon. You have issues to deal with. And how are you, by the way? I mean, looking at you, I see you as, you're always smiling and cheerful, but I'm sure it's, I wouldn't want to be in your place. I mean, I hear that you've had, death threats even. And how are you coping, really?
It's almost like everything that I've gone through. Next year will be my 35th year that I've been a journalist. And it feels to me like, that was like going to the gym to prepare for this moment. I'm okay, only because I prepare for the worst. I think of the worst things that can happen, and we drill them. We actually try to figure out how we're going to get beyond worst case scenarios. I think that is an unfortunate state of the world for journalists, but that's how we've survived for years. The other thing that I've learned is that we survive because of the kindness of strangers, because journalists like you, like Endy, all around the world, they have been telling our stories. And that's part of what's kept us both alive and me out of prison, I think. To me, I continue to appeal to Facebook. Part of the reason I am under such attack by the government is because it used Facebook to astroturf the attacks against journalists. So I appeal, Endy, and my friends at Facebook, I have so many friends there. We're one of their fact-checking partners. This is what happens when you don't stop the attacks against us. And it has to stop.
Okay, Maria, before you go, post-truth era, post-COVID, and in a very polarized world such as ours, what do you see as still our role as a professional media?
Our role, our mission, the standards and ethics of journalism has never been as important as it is today. At a time when COVID-19, it means that lies can kill, right? So our gatekeeping roles, even that we've lost, that's even more important today. I think we're in the battle of our times. And I never understood that saying that every generation has to fight for its democracy. We went through the end of nearly 32 years of Suharto. I came back to the Philippines in 1986 when the People Power Revolt happened. And now my generation is having to fight to define what the democracy of the future is going to be. Like Endy, I believe, and I've seen the COVID bump. We all talk about that. People come to news groups for quality journalism. There's a bump to quality, right? So I think aside from journalism, I appeal to all of the people who love democracy. This is it. We need to define what that is going to be, and that includes the citizens of our democracies as much as the social media platforms, because I think technology will be a part of whatever future it's going to be.
Yes,
and it's
an
up to
integral
us.
part. I mean, it's, you know, technology, like you mentioned, especially for us now. The challenge is not just the government. The challenge is also algorithm. The challenge is also things that we don't know about and we don't understand how things work. You know, things playing with our mind, things knowing us better than anybody else. So again, Maria, I wish you well, and I hope justice will be upheld, and also I hope, you know, democracy and freedom of the press will prevail in your case. Okay, thank you. Luar biasa ya, ini sebenarnya di Indonesia juga banyak ya contoh-contoh di mana kriminalisasi ya terhadap jurnalis itu terjadi, dan kita juga lihat di Amerika Serikat sekarang dengan adanya protes-protes itu jurnalis bahkan jadi target. Dan ini kita sudah lihat di mana-mana ini kalau ada apa-apa tuh biasanya jurnalis itu mereka yang dijadikan target. Endy, di Indonesia juga ada kehadiran yang sekarang tuh buzzer dan lain sebagainya. Bagaimana lihat freedom of the press? Tadi mengatakan bahwa di Indonesia mungkin orang masih kepercayaan terhadap pers itu masih lebih tinggi ya dari negara lain, tapi tidak setinggi seharusnya karena terus-menerus digerus, khususnya oleh sosial media. Jadi
perkembangan teknologi informasi ini membawa kemajuan, tapi juga membuat masalah-masalah baru. Ya, buzzer itu kan baru kan, 5 tahun lalu nggak ada lah gitu ya. Kan ada sesuatu yang baru.
Tapi sangat berpengaruh.
Sangat berpengaruh. Tapi kan kita akan mencari solusinya. Ya. Jadi kita belum tidak bisa memberikan solusi sebelum ada masalah. Dan biasanya kan begitu. Ada masalah, cari solusinya. Saya yakin ini nanti akan ada solusinya. Orang sudah mulai teriak-teriak, ini buzzer ini sangat mengganggu kenyamanan banyak orang hidup. Kenyamanan orang untuk mengekspresikan dirinya gitu. Saya berbicara nanti saya akan diserang oleh buzzer. Karena dari buzzer kan bisa aja ke offline, serangan di offline itu kan terjadi juga. Nah ini sudah mulai mengganggu, dan saya yakin banyak yang orang concern, teman-teman di DPR, di pemerintah, di dunia media, yang sudah mulai mengatakan kita harus cari solusinya. Saya yakin nanti solusi ditemukan, pasti ada kan masalah baru.
Makanya pendidikan atau edukasi itu sangat penting ya untuk memahami bagaimana sosial media itu bekerja. Tadi Maria ada hal yang menarik ya, khususnya social media itu kan semua melihat berdasarkan algoritma, dan algoritma ini kan kalau misalnya kita belanja sukanya apa, dan kita semua bisa mendapatkan produk-produk yang sesuai dengan apa yang kita inginkan. Nah ini termasuk terhadap pilihan-pilihan politik, sehingga platform-platform itu bisa dijadikan semacam pengaruh lah untuk misalnya mendukung salah satu politisi atau ideologi tertentu. Nah ini ke depan ini bagaimana Endy, kalau di Indonesia sendiri kan ada undang-undang ini. Maria Ressa dijerat dengan yang namanya itu cyber law, jadi undang-undang dunia maya lah. Kita juga punya yang
Dan sama 6 tahun juga, 6 tahun juga untuk penyebaran.
Belum lagi mungkin ada ya undang-undang atau keinginan mungkin untuk lebih membatasi lagi ruang gerak pers ini. Apa yang harus dilakukan kita supaya intervensi ataupun
Kita lihat ada gejala untuk mengekang pers lagi dalam RUU KUHP. Dan draft yang terakhir itu ada beberapa pasal yang mengembalikan mekanisme kontrol terhadap pers. Nah, jadi perjuangan kita belum selesai. Dulu kita sama-sama berjuang tahun 98, kemudian ada undang-undang pers yang
supaya tidak
menjamin
dibredel, supaya SIUP tidak dicabut.
Tapi seperti yang dikatakan Maria Ressa tadi, perjuangan untuk demokrasi itu never ending, akan jalan terus. Pasti akan ada tantangan baru. Nah, kita harus selalu berjuang itu, tapi juga mempersiapkan generasi muda untuk melanjutkan perjuangannya. Dan ini perjuangan bukan untuk pers saja, tapi untuk masyarakat.
Dan untuk demokrasi seperti
demokrasi. Kan kita bukan berjuang untuk kebebasan pers saja, tapi kebebasan berbicara dari semua orang.
Ya, kebebasan berekspresi. Tapi kalau kita lihat dengan adanya social media, setiap orang punya corong sendiri dengan smartphone-nya atau gadgetnya, itu kebebasan berekspresi itu ya diartikan kebebasan berekspresi, termasuk ekspresi yang meminta yang mengekang bagi orang lain. Itu kan jadi ada paradoksnya kan.
Ada usaha untuk membuat kode etik ya. Ada usaha juga untuk membatasi diri. Ada proses pembelajaran. Ini kan sesuatu yang baru nih, media sosial. Orang masih kaget, oh ternyata saya bisa mempengaruhi public opinion gitu kan. Dan dengan senang hati mereka membuat berita atau tulisan yang mungkin tidak benar, kontroversial, tapi yang penting saya viral gitu kan. Tapi lama-lama orang kan ada belajar, oh ini ternyata nggak bagus gitu. Jadi internet gadget itu memberikan kita power. Orang kalau dapat power itu pasti senang gitu, dan kemudian tidak bisa mengendalikan dirinya gitu. Tapi ada proses pembelajarannya, dan saya lihat itu terjadi proses pembelajaran di kalangan masyarakat menggunakan WhatsApp.
Tapi Endy bukannya melihat bahwa yang terjadi justru polarisasi, yang mereka berbicara yang kita sebut sebagai bubble itu, mereka yang bicara kepada orang-orang yang setuju kepada apa yang mereka katakan. Jadi tidak ada conversation, tidak ada diskusi, yang ada adalah berantem.
Itu tugasnya media untuk menciptakan ruang bagi publik untuk berdiskursus ya. Dan itu yang mungkin kegagalan dari media sekarang ini, tidak memberikan ruang. Karena media kadang juga ikut terjebak dalam polarisasi ini, berpihak pada sana, berpihak pada sini. Harusnya kita enggak, harusnya kita berada di tengah. Tanggung jawab kita adalah menciptakan ruang untuk diskursus publik yang sehat, untuk masalah-masalah menyangkut kepentingan banyak masyarakat Indonesia.
Selain buzzer kan ya cyberbully juga kan ya. Jadi bully itu biasanya kita ingin menyuarakan sesuatu, terus ada yang justru datang untuk membuli sehingga kita merasa takut ya. Ini yang terjadi pada Maria Ressa ya, diancam dan dibully, diintimidasi dan lain sebagainya. Tapi secara keseluruhan khusus bagi Indonesia, Endy, optimis bahwa kita kebebasan demokrasi dan kebebasan pers ini kita bisa pertahankan.
Kalau saya melihat ini perjuangan kan sama kayak tarian yang 3 langkah ke depan, 1 langkah ke belakang. Itu yang terjadi.
Jangan
sekarang.
3 ke depan, 4 ke belakang.
Mungkin yang terjadi sekarang itu 5 langkah ke belakang, tapi kita maju lagi. Jadi kita tidak boleh menyerah. Kadang-kadang ada setback-nya lebih besar daripada kemajuannya. Yang terjadi mungkin sekarang 1 tahun 2 tahun terakhir ini, kebebasan ruang gerak kita semakin sempit. Tapi bukan berarti terus kita menyerah. Kita harus tetap berjuang untuk memperluas ruang gerak kita. Tidak boleh perjuangan untuk pers saja. Ini harus perjuangan untuk masyarakat kita. Kebebasan berekspresi itu sangat penting. Apalagi di era sekarang media sosial, di mana masyarakat punya gadgetnya untuk mengekspresikan dirinya. Itu haknya mereka. Yang untuk bisa mengaturnya ya diciptakanlah kode etik. Ya. Bukan peraturan ini boleh atau ini nggak boleh. Kalau itu ntar kembali lagi ke zaman censorship.
Ya, dan
tapi yang penting mungkin pembelajaran, literasinya itu penting.
Ya, literasinya dan juga kita harus ingat kembali ya peran kita sebagai media itu adalah sebagai watchdog, kita pilar keempat demokrasi, dan juga kita mengkritik untuk membangun, untuk mencarikan solusi, mengkritik untuk kebaikan, itu juga harus kita lakukan ya. Jangan diharapkan harus mengiyakan semua juga, itu kan.
Itu kan tugasnya jurnalis ya. Kita untuk hold those in power accountable sebagai pilar keempat demokrasi, ya tugas kita itulah.
Iya, termasuk untuk mengkritik cara-cara yang ingin menggerus demokrasi itu sendiri. Endy, terima kasih banyak ya, kita sudah banyak belajar ya hari ini. Harus diingatkan terus-menerus ya peran kita di media ini, apalagi dengan begitu banyak ya sekarang upaya-upaya untuk mendiskreditkan atau mengurangi kredibilitas atau kepercayaan terhadap bukan saja pers itu sendiri, tapi terhadap demokrasi itu sendiri di Indonesia. Terima kasih dan demikian Insight with Desi Anwar kali ini. Jangan lupa Anda juga dapat menyaksikan tayangan ini di cnnindonesia.com dan di YouTube CNN Indonesia. Insight with Desi Anwar, sampai jumpa dan bye-bye, stay safe.